This is Change in America in plain English. Change in the United States began with expansion into North America. This is the United States in 1783. The Manifest Destiny refers to how settlers felt they should expand westward. This angered the Native Americans living on that land, and they were forced to move. Then came the Louisiana Purchase, the Texas Annexation, Oregon County, the Mexican Cession, Alaska, and lastly Hawaii. With the territorial expansion came expansion of suffrage as well. This suffrage extended from the 1700s all through the 1900s. In the 1700s, white men with property could vote. In 1870, black men gained the right to vote. The 15th Amendment of the United States was adopted in 1870. Last came the women. They finally got a right to vote in 1920. Obviously, with any type of major expansion such as this, there will be conflict. One particular conflict is the Civil War in the United States that occurred from 1861 to 1865. This was a conflict between the North and South, all caused by the president at this time, Abe Lincoln. After Abe Lincoln was elected president, the state withdrew from the Union and turned Confederate. In 1861, the Civil War separated families and a nation. During the war, right before it ended, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring freedom for slaves in the South. The war lasted 4 years. In the end, the Confederates surrendered, and the nation was united. Andrew Carnegie moved to America in 1848 in search of better career opportunities, which he most definitely found. He settled in Pittsburgh and worked various jobs for the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Railroad. In 1859, he became superintendent for the railroad. He co-founded a steel company called Carnegie Steel Company. His workers would later go on strike for bad conditions. Carnegie would be much like Rockefeller in his wealth and could be considered the wealthiest man in history. John D. Rockefeller was an industrialist in the mid-1800s. He founded Standard Oil companies and dominated U.S. oil businesses from that point on. Rockefeller successfully ran the company until 1897. The importance of kerosene and gasoline grew greatly, and Rockefeller became very rich. He became the world's richest man and the first American to be worth more than $1 million. Rockefeller could be considered the richest person in history. He was a philanthropist and generously donated financially to foundations that supported medical science and education. The expansion also resulted in a huge boom in economic and industrialization. Farmers moving west increased agriculture exports. The use of machines from industrialization quickened farming. The textile industry grew rapidly, which included cotton mills, and immigrants could be hired for cheap labor. Isolationism in America is basically the reluctance to be involved in Europe's military alliances. George Washington even addressed the ideas in his farewell address. The great rule of conduct for us in regard to foreign nations is in extending our commercial relations to have as little political connection as possible. On Europe in particular, he said, Europe has a set of interests which to us have none or a very remote relation. So it was not that Americans were opposed to expansion into other countries, but rather they didn't have an interest in military alliances.